I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Big news, SBA issues 14 non-bank lending licenses. These were started back in the 70s, and they trade infrequently. Chris Hearn of Fountainhead Commercial Capital, his company just acquired one. Listen to the conversation. Chris Hearn, founder of Fountainhead Commercial Capital.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, but I've known you for 20 years as Mr. 504.
Right.
What you're going to tell me is, what are you doing?
We just bought one of the 14 non-bank lender licenses.
Congratulations. So you've gone to the other side. All right. I got a ton of questions. Strategic plan. How's this fit in with Fountainhead Commercial Capital?
It fits in perfectly for us, frankly. It fills a hole that we've never had. We see 7A transactions all the time. And frankly, most of the time we just pass on them. We've stayed focused, laser focused for many, many years. But I think we can help a lot more small business owners, and that's why I went through this process over the last 18 months.
Well, we hear the term hedge fund. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us of how you are capitalized and how that is going to impact Main Street?
One of my equity partners is I guess technically a hedge fund,
right.
Although people don't like to think of themselves that anymore. Right. I think they call themselves alternative asset managers. But it's the natural evolution of our business. So they're very supportive. It's a way for Wall Street type money to make its way to Main Street businesses, much like the 504 program does. But in our case, we think we have a great distribution channel to do 7As. We're approved nationally, so we will be making loans nationally. We're ready to go. We've already got a pipeline, and it's very exciting. I haven't made a 7A loan in I think 17 or 18 years.
Let's don't tell SBA that. That's too late. But you have a staff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but no, we're staffing up, and it's very exciting. And I think it will be the only SBLC in the Southeast, which is, of course, where I would like to do a disproportionate amount of deals if we can. Southeast is growing economically, especially Florida, which is where I'm based. But we're excited. We see these deals all over the country all the time, and now we can do something with them.
Business model. Are you going to go out and do the traditional business development officer route, or are you going to go do something a little bit different?
I think I've been known to be a little unconventional over the years, so I think people could expect that we'll do something slightly different. Much like our go-to-market strategy is today, we get calls and emails from folks all over the place. We deal a lot with intermediaries of all types, not just brokers, of course. We also get a lot of business directly from small business owners who have seen a video like this or read a quote in the national media by me or something. So we're going to continue to do that. You'll probably see us do what I would call more of a wholesale BDO model in time. Yeah. But initially, we have enough demand for our services. We're to hit the ground running.
Got to ask the question, how difficult was the process? And you don't have to answer that.
It was
difficult.
Let's just say I am grateful there's a lot of barriers to entry to get to this.
Fair enough.
Let's put it that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Chris, congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome news.
Appreciate it.
And we'll have you back and tell us more of how you're progressing.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks. Lance Sexton did a great webinar on equity injection, the number one cause of SBA 7A guaranteed denials and repairs. Listen to some of his takeaways.
So the takeaways I wanted you to get from today's webinar, and equity injection is so important. It's been written about by the SBA Inspector General. We all know its importance. Equity injection fraud is a big item with the Inspector General. Proper verification and documentation of equity injection is crucial in your SBA loan file. Understanding what are proper sources of equity injection is important for you. As an example, home equity line of credit, there has to be a secondary source for repayment. Verifying and documenting the equity injection is critical, not just on early default loans, but really critical on early default loans. If you have lack of documentation and verification, you could get a full denial. In setting equity injection on express loans and PLP loans is very important because, again, you're not going to Citrus Heights for confirmation of your amount of equity injection, your source of equity injection. You're making that decision on your own. So you want to make sure your documentation is buttoned up.
SBA Administrator Linda McMahon, testified before the Senate this week talking about the amazing stats that SBA has been able to deliver, stats and loans and jobs, after the government shutdown.
Thank you, Chairman Rubio, Ranking Member Cardin, and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you again. Tomorrow will be 2 years, appropriately Valentine's Day, since I was sworn in as administrator of the SBA. In my testimony today, I want to look back on my service, provide updates on our agency's progress, and outline some areas where I hope we can work together. Let me start by reporting on our activity following the lapse in appropriations. As a result of the lapse, our lending programs were closed for a total of 20 business lending days. During that time, SBA was unable to approve loans and was not able to accept new applications. Over the last 2 years, I placed a great deal of emphasis on loan process improvements. By the end of 2018, we were able to reduce our processing times by half. Those improvements have clearly helped us following the lapse. Since lending activity resumed in all lending categories but one, our application volume is back to pre-lapse levels. In 12 days of lending, we have approved over 5,700 loans, totaling over $2.5 billion. During the funding lapse, the agency had close to 2,000 staff that were furloughed. While most routine activity ceased, we were able to perform limited risk management of our loan portfolio. We were also able to support contracting actions for DoD and other funded agencies. Our disaster staff were exempt from furlough and our operations continued as normal. The agency's work in responding to natural disasters stands out as an area that has touched so many members and so many states. Following the hurricanes in 2017 and 18, I traveled to all of the impacted regions. Our work in many of these areas is ongoing. To give you a sense of scale to date, SBA has approved over 170,000 loans totaling $8.3 billion for those 5 hurricanes. In addition to the major disaster events, many of you certainly know and identify with more localized events in your states. Working with you and your governors, SBA has helped businesses and homeowners get back on their feet following flooding in Maryland, algae blooms and red tide in Florida, wildfires in Idaho and Washington, and volcanic eruptions in Hawaii, just to name a few.
Our profile this week is Joe Griltz, McCune Companies out of Texas. Joe Griltz, partner, McCune Construction Services Group out of Texas. What do you do for Main Street, Joe?
We provide construction monitoring, funds monitoring for banks, and
logistics, how does that work? Tell me, you know, I'm a big logistics guy, so what exactly do you do?
When a bank approves a construction loan, they'll contract us to monitor the funds to be that it's commensurate with what they're giving the contractor, and we collect appropriate documents.
You know, you and I were talking, and you started this company, you did what, how many projects are you up to now?
We're over 150 active this month.
And what geographic location are you in?
We actually, our footprint was Texas. We have moved to other states now around the country. We've been very successful at it. The last 10 years have been proven that by providing more trained construction professionals to view these projects, it's a benefit to the lender, because if the construction loan's successful, then we're successful, and it's worked real well.
Anything special about SBA construction loans versus a conventional loan that you approach the transaction?
No, I feel that that SBA has a good process that is required, and I think it's very generic, and I think it's a good approach. I think commercial lenders should adopt that. I see more and more of our customers that are SBA accounts bringing their commercial lenders over to use our services. Construction loan is a construction loan, whether what type of financing is it? It could be commercial, USDA, SBA. It's still money that the bank is putting out there and in turn they want to see what they had in their appraisal built for that and appropriate documentation collected.
Well, it's a valuable service because there's no collateral there until the thing is finished.
It seems to become more and more risky in this market, and construction loans to some lenders are considered high risk. And if it's done correctly, we've been very successful the last 10 years. It's not as risky as it sounds.
Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Finally, listen to Lance Sexton, Chris Hearn, and I discuss upcoming SBA professional lending events. I strongly encourage you to attend the one near you. There are a number of great professional industry events coming up in the course of this year. Please, if one's in your area, please attend it. These are very minimal cost. I know there's some early bird cutoffs coming up, but we're talking a couple $100. These are great professional training opportunities sponsored by a number of different people. Chris, one's in your backyard, Lance. I know you're speaking at a couple of them. Which ones are you attending, Lance?
Well, I'll be speaking at Mid-America Lenders Conference 2019. It's one of the oldest and largest lenders conferences in the country, and I've been doing it, Bob, for 12 years. So I'm looking forward to being there again.
Good. And Chris, Orlando's in your backyard.
Yep, we'll have people at a lot of these. Absolutely, it's great educational, as you said.
Please, great networking, great buy-in from SBA. Washington goes a lot. I'm actually going to be in the Puerto Rico Rural Investment Summit in a couple of weeks, and that's for USDA DNI. I think we have other conferences up there. So please, if you're close by, it's well worth your time to do that. Thank you for joining us today for the Coleman Report update and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.